Lego Ideas in the past has provided a lot of great opportunities to pick up different licenses and IP'd characters that Lego themselves haven't put sets out for before. But you know what? A lot of the time they'll leave out some fun or main characters from their sets. And since, a lot of the time they're not going to be Marvel or Star Wars figures, you're not going to have a easy time finding customizers that are going to put out figures from these lines. And with that even, it's hard to make the figures yourself since printing things is very expensive and there's that sort of pay barrier to print your own figures. But sometimes on Instagram, as well as some other platforms, went ahead and made a bunch of different custom Seinfeld figures. And you might be wondering how they did that. Like I mentioned, printing is very expensive and they found a way to DIY, do-it-yourself sort of make these figures. And for the most part, you'll be able to get these from different giveaways. And it sounds like in the future they might end up selling these. But just look at this great packaging. And when I've messaged them in the past, they said that they give out all the figures in their giveaways in these. And that just raises the bar and makes these even more of a quality product. I already kind of opened this one up. That's why the rubber band isn't as nice. And you can see right there, they also have an official Lego collectible minifigure stand in there as well to put the figure on. I'll get all of these unpackaged and we can take a closer look. Most of the custom figures in my collection are pad printed, and a lot of my reviews are also on pad printed figures because of that. I do have a couple of UV figures in the collection, but that definitely isn't the main type of printing, or the brands that do UV printing aren't my favorite companies. When sometimes I reach out to me about getting some of their figures, I jumped at the chance to check out a new style of custom made figures and just to see what you can do with a homemade figure. I'm very excited to check these out. For the first figure, let's get to Kramer with the Jiffy Park shirt. Nothing on the back, and it just has the logo on the front here for the shirt. This is where these figures are actually nice, he uses the official Kramer head, the hair as well, and goes out of his way to get these dual molded arms. And I ended up having a talk with him, and that's something that he talked about, is just knowing the parts inventory that Lego has and making sure you keep that in mind for designing different characters. Sometimes for those rarer parts, they're going to be hard to get, and it might be a little bit hard to notice, but one of the downsides to decaling is that sometimes if the decal doesn't take up the whole torso, there's going to be a little bit of shine difference where you can see the adhesive versus the plastic. Other times you can make the decal the entire shape of the body. So I noticed that on this one, but it's nice. I don't have the Kramer figure, so I have the head now, and this can be the Kramer to go with my Seinfeld figure. Speaking of Seinfeld, we have Jerry in his floofy shirt. For this one, the face is slightly different from the official Lego one, where you can see that it is a little bit more concerned and sad. And that's just because in the scene, he's not very happy to be wearing the fluffy shirt. And this one features some detailing on the back with some wrinkles and I don't know what you would call that, but some stitching maybe in the back. And I actually do have the Citizen Brick version of this, where it has like some lace and the neck showing on the front there as well. On the back, pretty similar details. But this one's even different. It has the buttons, so it's not like they're a one-to-one copy of each other. So it's nice to have a little bit of variety. And this one seems to be much more based on the actual Seinfeld episode versus the Citizen Brick one, which could just be more of a medieval part that works for this character. So this is fun to get, The face works very well for the scene and also matching Jerry. Let's move on to the next figure. For this one, we have Putty, featuring his face paint for the Jersey Devils. As someone that isn't familiar with Seinfeld, this is sometimes profile picture. So I've seen it a lot of times and from afar. I wasn't entirely sure what it is, but after looking at the references, that's really cool and has a lot of fine details. On the back of the torso, you can see his 8-ball jacket going. On the front, normal jacket details. On their copy of the figure, they have some black collar pieces, which are a bit rarer, and I wish I would have had my version of that part. I have one and also the extra piece of it at home, that's one little detail for the jacket that's missing from this one, is that black at the top and also at the bottom of the jacket where it kind of has the elastic band, but it is what it is. Other details though are really impressive, like the 8 balls on the elbows there, having a perfect curve basically, which is really impressive knowing that these are a decal. Must have taken a while to figure out how to get that to look so good. Something else that's fun is that on the sides of the torso, it also has the green continuing. And this is another thing with decals, is that if you're not careful and you're moving the arms around too much, they'll scratch up a bit. You can kind of see that there. But that is just the reality of these sort of materials, where if you did it with printing, it would cost a bunch. So this is the affordable option. And if you're just being careful, not moving around too much, you're not going to really have an issue with that anyway. But I think having that green going underneath the arm is perfect, especially for this jacket. That little extra detail works very well. It's also nice to get this cool Lego jean print. That's pretty useful. And this is another part that Citizen Brick has done. You can see what I'm talking about with that black collar. I'll have to find my extra part of that to throw it on. That's at the back as well. You can see the different design choices where the jacket on this one kind of curves in. This one is just like a flat square. And this is one of those areas where the decaled version just stands out and works a lot better, just because of that dark green being underneath. Citizen Brick chose to do dark green arms instead, not having that extra coloring there. And on the side of this torso, it's just yellow, no green, but you can see that they imply it on the side of the torso. And the 8 balls are printed on the shoulders almost, which is inaccurate. That elbow placement is perfect. And also with the color, Citizen Brick chose yellow and sometimes chose orange. And looking at references pictures for the jacket, I can kind of see it both ways. But orange is probably a little bit more unique of a color anyway. And out of the first 3 figures that I got from him, I'll definitely say that this one is the one that I'm most excited for. And the details on this are really great for being made by just a person with decals. I never would have expected that you could do something like this. It's very cool to have this example of decaled work in my collection. Let's move on to the last figure, which I got separately in another shipment, being this Kramer with his Technicolor Dream Coat, which isn't something I was super familiar about, but I am very impressed with this handiwork. I don't have a lot of figures with custom cloth goods, and this one even has sleeves on it. And talking to, sometimes this is the part of the figure that was the most complicated to figure out. Because if you think about it, you need to find the pattern for the fabric and also find a way to make it work on the figure. And sometimes, a printed coat could work, but having the fur was very important to him. And which is interesting because you have to glue this to the fabric, and he mentioned that the hair on it was longer, so he also had to go through and trim it all up to get this look. And it's such an interesting piece and very cool. The inspiration for this was a Obi-Wan Kenobi cloak that you could get for figures. So that's kind of fun to see the inspiration. You can definitely see the influences. And that's something you got to do sometimes, is do the research, see what products are available, and figure out ways to use those different parts to make what you want to, like with this coat here. And it's nice to, you get that Kramer head again, nice cowboy hat. And with the jacket, you can move the sleeves, the fabric might bunch up a little bit and be a little bit difficult to move around, but it's still such a cool thing to have. I would love to see more customizers work on different things like this, just because there's action figure companies like Mezco that'll do the soft goods, but it'd be really funny and cool to see it used more in such a small scale like Lego. I know a lot of people do the trench coats, but that's such a basic thing, especially if you're just using the arms of the trench coat. I want to see something a bit more creative like this, especially with all the colors. So, that's my last Seinfeld figure from Sometimes I Insta. And I'm so glad to have connected with them and gotten these sent to me. It's such a fun and unique experience seeing the types of figures that you can make on your own at home. And let's get them all side by side and do the final verdict. Other than the minifigures, I also got some decal tiles with some snacks. Excited about this Junior Mints one. I used to eat those at the movies. And a license plate one, which this will be perfect if you have any Lego cars. Just take off the official license plate of whatever Lego car and throw on the Ass Man license plate. License plates are just a fun little piece to get. You know, 1x2 tiles are also just pretty universal in Lego for food. So those are all great to get too. As someone that doesn't know a whole lot about Seinfeld, I never thought I'd have this many minifigures in my collection. I don't own the set, but I did buy this Jerry to use the shirt for Ash Williams from The Evil Dead. But it's nice to have this one as a basis to compare the rest of them. You can see the differences between the other Seinfeld with the different face and the expression. And it still works, you know. All these figures are in their same universe. As a content creator and designer of different Lego sets, I can appreciate somebody taking their passion and putting out different characters. But on top of making these decaled figures, they also have different builds on a rubricable page. So if you're a Seinfeld fan, definitely check those out. I can definitely see the hours and effort that was put into not only designing these, but also putting them together. And this just goes to show that if you aren't a fan of superheroes or Star Wars, you can go ahead and make figures or whatever you want to in Lego for your favorite franchise. And thank you, Sometimes I Insta, for sharing these with me. Definitely go and check them out on Instagram and give them a follow. If you want to see other custom Lego figures or my custom builds, check out the other videos on my channel. I've been Brick Ratty Up. I'll see you in the next video.